What's up, guys? This is Vishnu coming back with an exciting episode of Docker series. In this series, we're going to talk about the Play with Docker, which has been created by the Docker community. Now, you guys might be having a question as to why we should go with this option. Why play with the Docker when we have the conventional methodology of working with the Docker, getting our hands dirty, and that so on and so forth. The reason why Docker community came up with this with this methodology is because a lot of people, again, if you know, they're not from the computer science background, right? So when they're not from the computer science background, they still are passionate to learn Docker. And those people, when they try to give an attempt, give it a shot, they're gonna basically, end up like meeting failures. And why I say that is because number one, they're not from the computer science background. Therefore, they don't know how to install the software, how to configure it, and then go through all of the usual hassles that any computer science grad would actually go through, when it comes to actually creating or like loading up a software in the computer. Now, to get around all of that, trying to make our life easy when it comes to configuration, installation, and so on and so forth, Docker community, what they did was they came up with this concept called Play with Docker. Now, essentially, what this does is they have preloaded a lot of images, again, based off of each and every operating system. So if a person is like more used to playing with the Windows, they have a Windows image, readily available. So all you got to do is like just readily load up and then run it and understand the commands, trying to get through the basics. And once you get your hand dirty, obviously, you're gonna go to the next level where now you will start doing everything as a professional, not as what I'm trying to basically get to in our today's series. Now, this Play with Docker community has a lot of images. So let me get right into it. This has a lot of images. It has got images in Windows, Mac, Linux, Ubuntu, etc., etc. For today's series, what we're going to do is we're going to be going through the Linux series, right? The Linux image. So all you got to do is go to Google, type Play with Docker online, and when you do, a bunch of websites going to show up in the Google browser. Go with the first link which says Play with Docker. Click on that. When you click on it, you're going to see a lot of images, again, preloaded by the Docker community. So Docker community extensively is working on this to make sure that they cover all the images from all walks of life so that everyone will be able to get their hands dirty and learn the Docker, the great software Docker, right? And if you look at it, it's again broken down into three different parts. It has intermediate, it has beginner, it has advanced, and then also it has something called community, where now you can post your questions, your clarifications, and some of the experts around the world, they're gonna come, they're gonna be monitoring the community, and hopefully they're gonna be answering to all of your questions, even though it's not gonna be on a timely manner, but still they'll make sure that they do answer whenever they get a chance. Now, for our purposes, again, we're gonna go with the beginner. So we're not yet in the intermediate level, so we're going to go with the beginner. If you go to the beginner, you have something called Docker for Beginners in the Linux version. So that's what we're going to be looking at for today's series. Click on the link. That's going to open up this page, this web page, where everything's going to be preloaded, as I said before. But in order to get to this state, what you need to do is there are few prerequisites that you need to work on. One of the core prerequisites that I can see is you have to create a Docker ID. Once you have a Docker ID, you'll be able to play around with all of the commands, get your hands dirty, and then you'll be ready for the professional, journey, right? Now, after you're done setting up, let's just say that, okay, you're done setting up your Docker ID. Now is the part where now you need to run through all the commands and also understand how each and every command works when it comes to the Docker technology as a whole, right? All right, let's try to run through some of the commands, the basic commands that I can see here, and this is just to give you guys a flavor of how things are going to look like. But when you guys work on this is again a whole workshop which is going to take 30 minutes. So you just have to run through the commands, and all of the explanation is already being given by the Docker community in this web page, right? All right, let's dive into it. If you let me get down. Okay, so when I scroll down, you're going to see the first and foremost command talks about the git clone, right? So as you guys, I'm assuming again, you guys have a a basic knowledge or a background of what GitHub is supposed to be. If not, we're going to be creating another a web series or something like to go over the basics. But for now, I'm assuming that the audience, the targeted audience who's going to be paying attention to this series, has a basic level of knowledge when it comes to GitHub. Again, long story short, GitHub is nothing but it's like a cloud repository where all of your codes and application has been already like written and it's like stored over there. What you're going to do is like you're going to be cloning that repository which is in the cloud to your local. That way you can work with all of this. You can do the updates. You can add more text files, or you can basically expand your application. And then when it's time to commit, you can commit it. All of the changes are going to be finally preserved back to the cloud. That's essentially what this does. So for our purposes, the first command, what it does is it's basically trying to clone one of the pre-written software or application by Docker community, which is called Linux Tweet app. So when you run the first command, it's going to clone it. And this is pretty easy to run this. I mean, you don't have to like type it because that's just going to, take a lot of time. You can do this in two different ways. One, you can select the entire command and then Control C and then do a Control V. The command's going to be pasted. It's going to run through and then it'll execute. The second way of doing it, which I would prefer the most, would be just double clicking on the command and that's just going to pop up here under the black window. And that's how it's not only going to paste the command, but also it's going to make sure that it executes the command and finally outputs, whatever we're asked to. The first command, we are cloning it. If you're doing it for the first time, guys, again, you're going to see that the cloning, it's going to, explain all of the steps in one by one as to how the cloning happens. But if you've done it before, obviously it's going to say the cloning has already been done, so you're good to go. Moving on to the second command. The second command, essentially what we're doing is we're basically running a container. And when you run the container, you're calling the image called Alpine. Now, the Alpine essentially is a lightweight image. It's a Linux-based lightweight image, which is being created by the Docker community, or you can call essentially the Docker Hub. Again, Docker Hub, in a sense, is nothing but it's like a community created, an open source community created by Docker, where anyone who's interested in expanding the existing images, they can do, and then finally they can put the image back to the hub. That way, it could be reusable again by the whole community or anyone who wishes to use it again, right? For their own personal purposes or for their professional reasons. Coming back to our command, this essentially what it does is we're trying to basically pull an existing Linux command image called Alpine, and we're going to basically tagging it to the container. And once you tag it, we're going to be running the command using the Docker command. So Docker container run followed by the image Alpine is what it's going to essentially do. And once you're done with that, you're saying, print me the host name. Output the host name. So when you click on that, again, same process. Double click on that. It's going to run the command on the black window, and you're going to see the host name printed over there. Now, that's essentially is an ID, which is randomly assigned by the Docker. But if you do want, you can also give it a name. Again, the command's going to be different. I'm not going to go through all of the commands, but just to give you a flavor. One last command before we close the session. This command, essentially what it does is going to be listing all the containers that you have created so far. For our purposes, as you see, we only created one container. The prior command actually is what creates a container, and the container ID was the ID that was posted or outputted in the black window. So now by doing this, when we double click this command, it's going to list all of the containers, again, the containers that were created so far. And if you look at this, we have 2 containers on Alpine. And the reason why you're seeing is because I ran the whole exercise twice. And then you also have a new container that ID that we're seeing, which starts with 3D series, which is what we did, a few seconds ago. And so this is essentially what this whole Play with Docker does. Now, what you guys can do is you guys can go further and work with the entire workshop. The workshop is going to take approximately 30 to 45 minutes. So go with the flow and then learn all the commands. And once you're done, you'll be ready to go, doing the Docker in a professional way. If you guys have any questions, do post onto the comments box, and whenever I get a chance, I'll try to respond back. Thank you.